Hey guys, tonight we drift way, way back, before names, before houses, before don't forget to plug in your phone. You're standing under a sky so dark it feels like velvet stretched to infinity, the Milky Way blazing brighter than any city light. The air smells of wet grass and smoke. A few meters away, something snorts in the reeds, too big to ignore, too close to identify. You probably won't survive this, so, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and your local time. I love seeing where you all tune in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're at a watering hole somewhere in Eastern Africa, maybe 2 million years ago. It's night. The moon reflects off the surface of muddy water, and a small band of early humans, your ancestors, are gathered nearby. They don't have words yet, not the kind that sound like sentences. But they grunt and gesture, their eyes darting constantly between the shadows. They know they're not alone, predators own this hour. Lions, leopards, saber-tooths, creatures whose teeth are longer than your hand. The humans' hearts beat fast. You can almost feel it in your own chest, that ancient thump of awareness that says, danger is watching. One of them dips a crude shell into the water. Sips, and freezes when reeds rustle. Everyone tenses. Nothing moves. Even the frogs hush. This moment, this hush, is what survival used to feel like. And it's in this stillness that something quietly extraordinary begins, cooperation. They can't fight the predators alone. A single human is slow, weak, basically a walking protein bar. But a small group, 5, 10, 15, can do something revolutionary, warn each other. When one flinches, the others look up. When one sniffs danger, the others tighten the circle. That tiny, invisible thread between them, awareness shared, is the first spark of social intelligence. A few yards away, the darkness shifts. A pair of glowing eyes, low to the ground. A hyena, or maybe a leopard, pacing. One of the older males lets out a low growl, not unlike the predator's own. The others mimic him, pounding sticks on the earth. The animal hesitates. You can almost hear the prehistoric thought forming, if we make noise together, maybe it leaves. It works, for now. The eyes blink away. But fear lingers like the humidity in the air. Every rustle sounds like death. Anthropologists have found traces of ancient watering holes like this, places where early hominins, Homo habilis, Australopithecus, and their kin, gathered despite the risk. Some fossil evidence even suggests they were dragged there by predators after nightfall. The debate continues, were they brave or just desperate? Historians still argue whether these humans came to drink cautiously or to scavenge the leftovers of kills made by lions. A more fringe theory, one of those ideas whispered in dusty research halls, claims that these waterholes weren't just about thirst. They were social hubs, proto-villages, where groups exchanged mates, food, or gossip like grunts. Danger made them gather. The same way humans today pack into airports and subways despite knowing germs and chaos thrive there. We're built to cluster, even when it's risky. Now, crouched near that muddy pool, you glance at your companions, matted hair, wide eyes, a shared hunger and fear. One woman cradles a child, her free hand gripping a branch. A man beside her rubs 2 stones together, not for fire, not yet, but maybe just for rhythm, a nervous tick that sounds like a heartbeat. The predators haven't gone. They circle, patient, waiting for one of you to step too far. A zebra screams in the distance, and everyone jolts. The child starts to whimper. You hush them instinctively, realizing the quiet itself is your shield. Time passes. The moon climbs higher, and a mist rolls in from the river. For a moment, it feels like peace. You might even yawn, because even fear, when drawn out long enough, gets boring. but survival is never silent for long. Somewhere in that blackness, another pair of eyes appears. Then another. The smell of musk, rot, and hunger floods your nostrils. The group tightens. Someone raises a stick, another picks up a rock. You can sense the shift, not panic this time, but readiness. Something ancient sparks inside you. It's not bravery exactly, it's mutual reliance. You care, not in a sentimental way, but because if the person beside you dies, your own odds drop. Saving each other isn't kindness. It's math. And yet, that cold calculation, over countless generations, will slowly warm into empathy. For now, you just breathe together. Watch together. Endure together, a frog croaks. The water ripples. The night stretches on, and the predators, disappointed, slink away. The first faint light touches the horizon, and your little band, exhausted but alive, stands. You made it through the night. You probably won't remember it, your kind doesn't write yet, but the instinct to survive as a group will echo for millions of years, right up to you lying in bed right now, under soft sheets instead of grass, still listening for something in the dark. The morning after the long night feels like a sigh of relief. Mist rises, light cuts through the branches, and your tribe moves cautiously toward safety. The smell of blood, sweat, and smoke still lingers, a reminder you're never far from becoming breakfast. Behind you, the watering hole lies calm. But danger sleeps in daylight too. You walk beside an older hunter, wiry and scarred. The mark isn't pride, it's a warning. He earned it wrestling food from a leopard. The story spreads in low murmurs. Weeks earlier, the leopard dragged off a young woman. Her scream split the grasslands. And for the first time, instead of fleeing, the tribe turned back. Through tall grass they crept, rocks in hand. One shouted, through, then another. The leopard, confused, retreated just long enough. She survived, barely. It wasn't heroic, just chaos. But it mattered. Flight had become fight together. Archaeologists have found healed fractures on ancient bones, proof someone cared long enough for another to heal. Love, duty, or survival math, it didn't matter. From then on, you started saving each other. You imagine her days later, weak but fed, kept close to the fire not because they knew about germs, but because warmth felt right. Her breath became part of the tribe's rhythm. That scream became a legend, mimed around fires, maybe the first bedtime story, the night we chased the killer cat away, the fire before you now flickers weakly. Dust rises on the horizon, herds and predators moving. A young hunter wanders off to prove himself and never returns. The group mourns quietly. Grief is different here, not tears, but silence. Humans don't just miss the lost, they linger, they wonder. This emotional shift, some say, is why humans survived. Not claws or speed, but care. When one fell, another helped. Others argue empathy was just a survival glitch, helping to silence a scream before it drew predators. Dark, but human, at camp, your people share watch. Forage, rest. Trust forms, fragile but real. When danger stirs, all eyes turn to the scarred hunter. Leadership is born without crowns or words, just presence. Night returns. The fire crackles. You lie shoulder to shoulder with the others. A child who nearly cried last night sleeps soundly. Flames dance, and you think of that first scream, the moment fear turned to courage. Historians still debate whether empathy or cooperation came first. Maybe they arrived together, like dawn and light. Once humans started saving each other, something irreversible began. You became not just prey, but protectors. Somewhere, the leopard prowls again. This time, you don't freeze. You grip a stick, wake your people, and face the dark together. The night thickens, the fire pops, the air hums. And in it, You can feel the faint pulse of the future, villages, families, rescues, all seated in one ancient decision, turning back when someone screamed. The nights grow longer, colder, windier. Dry air cracks your lips, dust coats your tongue. Predators have learned your rhythms, waiting for the fire to fade. But tonight, something new flickers in the clearing, crackling, glowing, smelling faintly of roasted roots. Fire. At first, no one knows if it's friend or foe. It eats wood, breathes air, dances like it's alive. The scarred hunter brought it back from a tree struck by lightning, dropping the smoldering branch like a trophy. Everyone stares, awed. The flames hiss, smoke stings eyes, but no one steps back. You edge closer. Warmth seeps into your bones. For the first time, the shadows hesitate. The first campfire wasn't ritual or cooking, it was survival. A night light against fangs. Historians still debate when humans learned to control it, long before we made sparks ourselves or only after, but the moment it happened, everything changed. The fire pushes hyenas back, keeps leopards at the edge. The tribe begins sleeping in shifts, half alert but braver. You sit by the glow, light dancing over dirt and scars, letting you breathe easier. Someone tosses a bone in, it pops and hisses. A root tastes softer, sweeter. Heat has changed food forever. Fire isn't just warmth. It's gathering. People grunt, laugh softly, listen. Around it, connection forms. Some scientists even claim staring into flames rewired the human brain, teaching focus and calm. The first quiet in a dangerous world. A young one holds a stick in the flames, laughing. You think of the scream at the watering hole, then, fear. Now, control. Predators pace at the tree line, confused. Something new has claimed the night. Hours later, embers glow low. The group huddles close, some already asleep. You trace a circle in the dirt, a rough symbol of the fire. The scarred hunter feeds the coals, unknowingly inventing night shifts. Rain begins to fall. You shield the fire with stones as smoke mingles with wet earth. This is what civilization will always smell like: warmth and weather, risk and comfort. Eyes still blink beyond the light, but farther now. Distance feels like triumph. You lie down, firelight flickering in your eyes. Not invincible, not safe forever, but safe enough. Tomorrow, the tribe will move on, leaving ashes behind. But tonight, you've claimed the night itself. Dawn breaks red and gold. And for once, no one dies in the night. The fire has burned low to glowing embers, like the eyes of friendly spirits. You stretch, sore but alive, pride warming your chest. The tribe gathers around the ashes. Smoke curls lazily. The scarred hunter pokes the coals, coaxing them back to life. Fire is no longer just light, it's belonging, but belonging has a price. By midday, a sour stench drifts in, decay. Then comes the sound, the guttural cackle of hyenas. You climb a ridge. Below, a pack tears into a zebra, bones cracking. Hunger gnaws at your people. Hyenas are bold, but today hunger beats fear. The scarred hunter tosses a rock. Useless, but the act matters. Others join in, shouting. Waving sticks. The hyenas pause, ears flicking. One charges halfway, then hesitates at the sight of fire-tipped branches. Slowly, snarling, the pack withdraws. Your heart hammers. You've just won a standoff. Historians argue whether humans scavenged or hunted first. Maybe you stole from hyenas. Maybe they followed your fires for scraps. Either way, today the zebra is yours. The group approaches. The zebra's body is still warm, blood pooling in the dust. The scarred hunter cuts with a stone tool. Others join in, cutting, scraping, chewing. Brutal and beautiful. Then a cry, sharp, close. A hyena bursts from the grass toward a child. Two adults react instantly, one hurls fire, one smashes a rock. The hyena limps off. The child screams but is safe, the tribe erupts, grunts, laughter, chest beating. Not just victory. Unity. A quiet turning point, the first time a group protects its future, the rest of the day slips by in tired relief. The meat is dragged back, smoked over fire. Vultures circle above, black shadows against the sun. Hyenas linger far off but don't dare return. Firelight clings to your skin like armor. Historians debate what forged this teamwork, necessity or instinct. Ancient bones, tool marks, footprints all whisper the same story. Early humans didn't just fight together. They stayed together. That night, someone laughs, loud, free. Others follow, heads thrown back. Laughter rings out like a victory drum. A theory says laughter evolved to signal safety. You survived. You can breathe. You look around the fire, child safe, hunters proud, flames alive. The hyenas forced you to protect something beyond yourself. That instinct will shape every civilization to come. Stars blink awake. A hyena laughs in the grass. This time, you smile. You found your voice too. The morning is quiet, too quiet. Damp earth, buzzing flies, gray smoke rising from the fire. The tribe stirs uneasily, eyes on the plains. Something gleams in the dirt, a split bone, smooth inside. Chipped like a handle. The scarred hunter takes a thicker bone, smashes one end against a rock until it splinters into jagged points. He swings it lightly. A murmur ripples through the tribe. The bone club is born. You grip the tool, testing the weight. When a scavenger creeps near the food pile, you swing without hesitation. The thud is wet and final. The tribe gasps, then cheers. Weapons aren't new, but this feels different. For the first time, tools are extensions of intent. Later, you find the young woman who survived the leopard. Her scars are pale now. She sits beside a sorted pile of bones and stones, showing how one fits into another, how shards can dig or slice. It isn't art yet, it's curiosity made real. She gestures toward distant gazelles, miming a throw. You nod, understanding. The next days blur, dust, movement, learning. At night, sharper stones, longer sticks, heavier bones. One evening, a young man throws a fire-hardened spear. It sticks upright in the dirt. The scarred hunter laughs deep and proud. You don't know it, but this is the first domino in a chain that ends with rockets and TikTok filters. Food comes faster. Hyenas linger but keep their distance now. You're no longer prey, you're competition. And with safety comes restlessness. Someone carves shallow lines into rock, another hums as they work. It feels like ritual, though no one calls it that. You tap stone on bone, once, twice, again. Others follow. The rhythm spreads into the night like a shared heartbeat. For the first time, darkness feels less like an enemy. Still, peace is fragile. One dawn, massive paw prints appear near camp. Saber-tooth. The scarred hunter gestures. We move, but as you look back, the ashes, the scratches, the bones, you feel something new. Memory. Proof you fought back and lived. Historians debate what made humans human: fire, language, tools, or cooperation. Maybe it's simpler. Maybe it's the moment you picked something from the ground and thought, I won't die running anymore. Wind lifts dust into the sunrise. You sling the club over your shoulder and follow the tribe toward the golden horizon. Predators wait, but now, so do possibilities. And beneath the wind, faint and steady, the rhythm of stone on bone still echoes, survival becoming civilization. You move south through tall grass and scattered trees. The air grows thick, wet, full of insects. Days stretch long, the sun a burden. Food grows scarce. Herds have moved on. Hunger creeps in quietly. The young stop playing, the scarred hunter stares at the horizon, and the woman with the limp sits motionless. The air feels uneasy. Climate is shifting, rivers shrinking, plains drying. Survival means moving, you walk for weeks through dust and heat. One evening, a cry shatters the silence. Beyond a cluster of rocks stands another group. They look like you, but shorter, broader, with heavy faces and ochre-painted skin. Crude weapons in hand, Neanderthals, two groups face each other in tense quiet. A woman with a thick braid steps forward, lowers her weapon, and places a carved bone knife in your palm. It's sharper than any you've made. She points to the sky. Then the river, and vanishes with her people. That night, hope stirs. The limp woman studies the knife, then shapes bone and stone to match it. Soon your tribe wields better blades. Culture spreads not through war, but through curiosity. Months pass. Hunts grow easier. Elders begin circling stones around kills, marking, remembering. Death is no longer just absence. A footprint recalls a laugh. Smoke brings a face to mind. You carry a smooth stone for the one who died last moon. Grief has arrived, quiet, heavy, human. The tribe slows its wandering. You stay longer near water. Fire grows sacred. At night, memories turn into stories. Hunts become legends, shadows become spirits. The first myths take shape. Meaning creeps into sound. You point to the stars and hum, others echo. Laughter, rhythm, tone, language begins here, in shared signals. Sometimes you lie beneath the stars, wondering if the dead live there or if the stars watch you back. It isn't fear. It's awe. Survival is no longer enough, wonder has taken root. As flames flicker, you look at your people, the scarred hunter, the limp woman, sleeping children. You think of the Neanderthal woman and how she pointed upward. Hunger creeps in quietly. The young stop playing, the scarred hunter stares at the horizon, and the woman with the limp sits motionless. The air feels uneasy. Climate is shifting, rivers shrinking, plains drying. Survival means moving, you walk for weeks through dust and heat. One evening, a cry shatters the silence. Beyond a cluster of rocks stands another group. They look like you, but shorter, broader, with heavy faces and ochre-painted skin. Crude weapons in hand, Neanderthals, two groups face each other in tense quiet. A woman with a thick braid steps forward, lowers her weapon, and places a carved bone knife in your palm. It's sharper than any you've made. She points to the sky. Then the river, and vanishes with her people. That night, hope stirs. The limp woman studies the knife, then shapes bone and stone to match it. Soon your tribe wields better blades. Culture spreads not through war, but through curiosity. Months pass. Hunts grow easier. Elders begin circling stones around kills, marking, remembering. Death is no longer just absence. A footprint recalls a laugh. Smoke brings a face to mind. You carry a smooth stone for the one who died last moon. Grief has arrived, quiet, heavy, human. The tribe slows its wandering. You stay longer near water. Fire grows sacred. At night, memories turn into stories. Hunts become legends, shadows become spirits. The first myths take shape. Meaning creeps into sound. You point to the stars and hum, others echo. Laughter, rhythm, tone, language begins here, in shared signals. Sometimes you lie beneath the stars, wondering if the dead live there or if the stars watch you back. It isn't fear. It's awe. Survival is no longer enough, wonder has taken root. As flames flicker, you look at your people, the scarred hunter, the limp woman, sleeping children. You think of the Neanderthal woman and how she pointed upward. Maybe she already knew what you're beginning to feel, that sky, fire, and stories are connected. That you belong to something vast, the wind hums. Crickets sing. Fire crackles. And for the first time, you don't just live in the world. You belong to its memory. Morning comes slow, gold spilling across the plains, revealing embers, footprints, and weary faces. You stretch, bones stiff, sensing a silence that follows pain. One hunter limps toward you, his knee twisted from chasing a gazelle. Once, he'd have been left behind. But not anymore. You crouch, unwrap the swollen knee. The woman with the limp brings a paste of crushed leaves and ash, humming as she works. He winces but doesn't pull away. The others gather close, watching. This is how medicine begins, not in labs, but in the dirt, with care and guesswork. Archaeologists find proof in bones healed long after injury. Someone once fed, protected, cleaned. A mended femur means more than survival, it means community. You could hunt. Instead, you stay. That choice is everything. Historians debate if empathy was strategy or accident. Either way, tribes that cared endured. Days pass. The hunter's pain fades, laughter returns. Around the fire, small gestures, a shared piece of meat, a leaning shoulder, bind the group. Saving each other isn't grand. Sometimes it's just water offered in the dark, lying awake that night. You remember fear, hyenas, hunger, and how it lessened when someone was near. That comfort will outlast the fire. It will become love, loyalty, ritual, the first ember of morality, morning. You collect herbs, learning what soothes, what heals, what just smells good. Mint keeps flies off and lifts your mood. A child sneezes, an elder mutters about bad spirits. You grin. The story matters as much as the truth, life finds rhythm. When one is hurt, all adjust, the pace slows, tasks shift, the group moves as one body. Eyes, hands, heart, then danger comes. In the forest, rustling. A lion. It lunges, someone tackles you aside. The lion's claws rip air where your spine was. Another hunter swings a burning branch, the tribe erupts, shouts, stones, spears. The lion retreats. Silence, the rescuer bleeds. You tear hide, press the wound. No one runs. Not one. Humans stopped being prey not only with weapons, but by refusing to flee alone. That night, tending the wound, you look up at stars, wild light against wild eyes. Compassion made you stand together. Morning brings laughter, the scent of roasting meat. Warmth spreads through you, not just heat, but pride. The same force that made you stay, that made someone leap before a lion, compassion, it turns out, may be the strongest weapon humans ever forged. You move with the herds as seasons shift. The plains stretch wide, grass brushing your shoulders, bones half buried in dust. Predators still lurk, but now you know their patterns. You don't run at every sound, you listen, and choose. One morning, the old woman with the rasping laugh doesn't wake. She lies under the trees, eyes half open, still warm. You call softly. The others gather, silent. It isn't the first death, but this one is quiet, a life that faded rather than broke. At dusk, the woman with the limp places a flat stone over the body. Someone adds flowers. You follow. No one explains why. It simply feels right. That night you understand, this isn't just disposal, it's ritual. Centuries later, archaeologists will find graves like these and debate what they meant, fear or love, spirit or necessity. For you, it's both. The days grow uneasy. Hyenas prowl, sniffing through the stone. You take turns watching, driving them off. Without knowing it, you've made the first cemetery patrol. Someone suggests moving camp. The scarred hunter shakes his head. She's here, he says. So you stay, and in staying, something new forms, belonging. Territory. A patch of earth becomes meaningful because someone lies beneath it. You mark trees with spirals, rocks with handprints. Weeks later, when a child dies, you bury them beside her. Pebbles, feathers, berries, a hum through the night. Sad, but not hopeless, the woman with the limp shapes clay figures, one for the child, one for the old woman. At night you stare at them, wondering if they live among the stars, sparks from the great fire of the world. Imagination softens the ache, explanations bloom. Thunder becomes her laughter. A newborn's cry carries a spirit's echo. You half believe, half pretend. But it helps. Practicality weaves through it too, stones hide scent, flowers mask decay. Meaning and necessity blur together. When predators approach, you don't just shout. You grab embers, fling them into the dark, chant words that rise like fire. The sound thrills you and drives the hyenas off. Ritual becomes defense. By accident, you've invented both religion and theater. Weeks pass. Moss grows over graves, but you keep their names alive. Memory isn't just remembering, it's protection. Sometimes you whisper to the stones, thanking the old woman for stories, the child for laughter. Once, you only ran. Now you stand guard, even in death. Predators still roam, but forgetting frightens you more. At sunset, before leaving, you sit by the graves one last time. The sky burns red, mirroring ochre on the stones. A quiet calm settles. You rise, and the tribe follows. Leaving flowers, footprints, and the first faint trace of eternity, you travel on, deeper into the hills, where caves open like mouths in the stone. The air cools, the ground grows rough, and the echoes of your footsteps sound strangely alive. You stop at one cavern because it feels safe, sheltered. It smells of damp earth and old smoke, maybe from travelers long before you. Inside, torchlight dances across the walls. And there, faint but visible, are markings, lines, swirls, and smudges of ochre. You tilt your head. They don't look like scratches from claws. They look intentional. You reach out, your fingertips hovering just shy of the rock. Someone, maybe many someones, made these. The marks resemble animals, big ones, like bison and mammoths, but they're rough, strange, more memory than photograph. The woman with the limp appears beside you, holding a chunk of red pigment. She rubs it between her fingers, and it stains her skin. Blood, she mutters softly. Then she grins. No. Earth pretending to be blood. You can't help but laugh. That night, after the fire is lit and the shadows grow long, someone suggests making your own mark. The idea catches on. Soon, palms are dipped in pigment, pressed against the wall, hand after hand, some small, some large, a scattered pattern of presence. Yours among them, you pull back and look. The sight is oddly moving. 100 fingers saying, "We were here." Historians still argue whether these ancient handprints were art, ritual, or early communication. Were they teaching tools, warnings, prayers, or just the prehistoric equivalent of doodling on a cave wall? The truth might be all of them. Humans rarely do things for just one reason. You notice, though, how everyone seems lighter afterward. Maybe the act of leaving a mark, any mark, creates relief. The old grief from the burial seems softer now, the tribe's laughter easier. As days pass, you add more drawings. Animals, hunters, spirals, suns. Someone smears dark pigment into the shape of a lion's paw. Another draws a man beside it, spear raised. You start telling the story aloud, how the man stood brave, how he survived. The kids cheer, eyes wide. You realize you're teaching them courage, and this moment of mixing story, art, and survival, is one of the oldest tools humanity will ever invent. Not the stone knife, not the spear. Storytelling, every night, new tales are added to the walls. The scarred hunter exaggerates his fights. The woman with the limp acts out the time she outsmarted a hyena, limping dramatically to make the children laugh. Even the shy ones join in, humming or drawing or clapping in rhythm. The cave becomes more than shelter, it becomes memory. You start to see patterns. Certain animals mean certain things, the bison for plenty, the lion for courage, the spiral for journey. When someone gets lost or hurt, these symbols become prayers. In the flickering light, your handprint glows red, and for a moment you see it as something else entirely, a symbol of defiance. Of presence. Of survival painted into eternity. Archaeologists who will one day stand in this same cave will whisper in awe, trying to decode the intentions of those ancient artists. They'll argue over pigments and dates, over whether these paintings were made by Homo sapiens or Neanderthals. But they'll all feel it, the echo of connection, because the handprints don't just say we were here. They also say we cared. One evening, during a storm, you all crowd deeper into the cave. The wind howls outside, and thunder rolls through the hills like giant footsteps. Lightning flashes at the entrance, turning every drawn animal into something that moves, that breathes. The cave feels alive. The woman with the limp begins to hum softly, a tune that sounds older than language. Others join in. The scarred hunter beats rhythm on a hollow bone. A child claps. The echo builds, bouncing through the chamber until it feels like the mountain itself is singing back. Music, you don't call it that yet. But you can feel its power. It soothes the frightened, binds the tribe together, drowns out the storm. When morning comes, the world outside sparkles, rain-washed, quiet. You emerge blinking into the sunlight, blinking at the brightness. The grass is slick, the air crisp. You notice fresh tracks, deer, maybe, or antelope. Perfect hunting weather, but before leaving, you glance back at the cave, at the red handprints fading into shadow. You realize you've left a part of yourself there, something the wind can't erase. That's the thing about early humans, once they learned how to mark the world, they couldn't stop. From cave walls to memory, from story to symbol, from pigment to prayer, you're laying down the first lines of history, even if you don't know it, and yet, under all that invention, the old question still hums: why? Why record? Why remember? Why not just live and forget? Maybe it's because memory keeps you safe. A remembered predator is easier to avoid, a remembered act of bravery inspires others to fight. Storytelling isn't entertainment, it's survival training wrapped in poetry. When you draw the lion, you don't just recall its power. You contain it. You learn it. The story turns fear into control. That's why, centuries later, humans will still tell bedtime stories about monsters. Not to frighten, but to teach the art of staying brave while falling asleep. As night falls again, the fire crackles, and you find yourself tracing one of the painted hands on the wall. The rock is cold, the pigment flaking. You imagine someone doing this thousands of years from now, touching the same shape, wondering who you were. You smile. Maybe they'll feel what you feel now, the strange comfort of knowing that even in the middle of danger, humans found time to make art, to tell stories, to make the darkness less lonely. The storm outside begins again, soft this time, like a lullaby. The fire pops. You lean against the cool stone, eyes drifting shut beneath the painted ceiling, surrounded by stories that will outlive every one of you. You wake to a strange sound, low, throaty, almost curious. The dawn light slips into the cave, soft and blue. You blink the sleep from your eyes and peer toward the entrance. There, standing just beyond the rocks, is a wolf, its thin, ribs showing, fur slick with dew. It watches you with wary gold eyes, tail low but not tucked. Behind it, you catch the faint rustle of smaller shapes, pups maybe, or others of its pack waiting in the shadows. You freeze. The old instincts stir, the reflex to grab a stone, shout, chase it off. But you don't. You just stare, the wolf stares back. It's hard to say who moves first, but after a few heartbeats, the wolf takes one slow step closer. You can smell it now, wet fur, wild musk. Its breath fogs the cold air between you. The woman with the limp wakes, sits up, and gasps. The scarred hunter reaches for his spear, but you shake your head. Wait, you whisper, there's something in the animal's posture, not hunger, not aggression. Just uncertainty. Like it's testing what kind of creature you are. You toss a scrap of bone toward it. The wolf flinches, then edges forward, sniffing. It snatches the bone and darts back. A minute later, it returns. Historians still argue whether early humans first tamed wolves intentionally or by accident. Maybe it started just like this: a cold morning, a hungry animal, and a shared understanding that cooperation might be easier than competition. Days pass, and the wolf returns again, and again. It lingers longer each time, close enough that the children giggle and throw bones too. You notice how it never growls at you, how it sometimes sits near the fire's glow at night, not quite inside the circle but near enough to watch. Then one evening, you hear a howl in the distance. The wolf rises, ears pricked, muscles tight. A pack answering. You expect it to leave. But it doesn't. It stays. That's when you realize something remarkable is happening. Trust, scientists call it mutualism, the moment two species realize they're better off together. You'll call it something simpler, friendship. The wolf becomes part of your days. It follows during hunts, sniffing out trails. When hyenas creep near camp, it growls first, giving you time to react. The tribe grows bolder with it around. For the first time, you sleep without constant fear. One night, as you roast meat by the fire, you notice the wolf watching intently. You toss a bit its way. It catches the morsel midair, tail flicking once, quick and pleased. You laugh. The scarred hunter grumbles something about feeding trouble, but he's smiling too. Weeks pass. The wolf grows thicker, stronger. It learns your rhythms, your tone. When you speak softly, it tilts its head, eyes bright. Sometimes, when you hum, it whines along, as if trying to join in, and then, one fateful morning, while you're gathering near the river, trouble finds you again. A boar bursts from the underbrush, tusks flashing. It's massive, angry, desperate. The children scream. You grab a spear but stumble on wet stones. The boar charges. The wolf moves first. It launches itself sideways, sinking teeth into the boar's flank. The impact knocks both creatures sprawling. The tribe erupts, shouting, throwing spears, striking. The boar collapses, kicking dust into the air. The wolf limps away, panting, blood on its fur, not all of it its own. You kneel beside it, heart pounding. Its side is torn open. It whines softly but doesn't flinch as you clean the wound with cool river water. You whisper nonsense, comforting sounds more than words. The others watch in silence. That night, the fire burns long. The wolf sleeps near you, breathing shallowly. You can feel its warmth, its heartbeat. You realize that in saving you, it became something more than an animal. Something closer to kin. Historians still debate the exact point wolves became dogs. Was it when they started guarding camps? When they shared food? When humans began burying them beside their owners? But for you, the answer is simple. It's now. Days later, the wolf stands again, slower but proud. It follows as you walk. It hunts with you. It curls up beside you at night. The children name it Fire Eyes. And the world feels a little safer. With safety comes something unexpected: leisure. You start carving more carefully, shaping better tools, decorating them even. The woman with the limp braids the wolf's fur into cord, smiling as she works. You notice how the tribe's mood shifts. The constant vigilance eases. Laughter lingers longer. Someone even invents a game with sticks and stones, just for the joy of it. It's strange how survival can make space for happiness once danger retreats a step. That night, you watch Fire Eyes lying by the fire, muzzle twitching in dreams. You think about all the creatures that used to terrify you, the lions, the hyenas, the saber-toothed cats, and how this one predator chose instead to sit beside you. Maybe that's what humanity does best, turn fear into friendship. You lean back, feeling the steady warmth of the flames and the cold edge of the cave wall behind you. The stars glimmer overhead. Somewhere out there, other tribes are learning the same lessons, different fires, same instincts. You close your eyes, listening to the soft breathing of the sleeping wolf, and think about how much has changed since the days of running in the dark. You used to hide from predators. Now you share your fire with one, and though you can't know it, this partnership will shape millennia, hunts, homes, farms, even the way future humans define loyalty itself. For now, though, it's just you and Fire Eyes. Watching the sparks drift up into the night, the seasons turn again. You feel it in the thinning air, in the way the light changes color on the stone walls. The wolf, Fire Eyes, has become more than a companion. It's a part of your rhythm now, padding beside you each dawn, silent but alert. When you move, it moves. When you stop, it watches the horizon, nose twitching for signs of life or danger. It's been moons since your tribe has lost anyone to predators. The difference is astonishing. You sleep longer. You eat more regularly. The children grow, their limbs lean and strong. Survival, for once, feels less like a desperate scramble and more like a rhythm, a pattern you can trust. You notice something else, too. The tribe is changing. The old habits of scattering at danger, of fleeing before the unknown, are fading. Now you gather, plan, even anticipate. You've begun to set traps, not just for prey, but for safety. It's in those quiet, confident days that the idea of the hunt as strategy is born. Historians still argue whether early humans developed organized hunting before or after forming tribes with dogs. But watching Fire Eyes and your hunters move together, each responding to unspoken cues, you suspect it's all part of the same evolution. Cooperation. Trust, timing. You rise before dawn one morning, the sky a pale wash of silver. You and 3 others carry spears, each with tips sharpened by slow grinding against sandstone. Fire Eyes trots ahead, tail low, ears flicking. The plan is simple: flush a herd of deer toward the ravine, where others will wait with nets woven from vines. The air smells of frost and damp earth. You move silently through the brush. A flicker of movement, Fire Eyes stiffens. You freeze, breath held. The deer are near, then, a signal, a sharp whistle from across the field. The drive begins. You shout, waving arms, slamming sticks against trees. The herd panics, galloping toward the ravine. Fire Eyes darts in circles, hurting them just as your tribe hoped. One deer stumbles, trapped in the net. A spear flies, striking clean. The moment it falls, there's a cheer, not just of hunger sated, but of success earned. Later, by the fire, the meat roasts and the smell is glorious. Fat crackles, smoke curls upward. You can almost taste the centuries stretching ahead, villages, hunts, herds of domesticated animals, all seated in this moment of shared intent. Fire Eyes sits beside the carcass, watching. You toss her a strip of meat, and she takes it gently from your hand. Her muzzle brushes your palm, warm and rough. The scarred hunter, the one who once distrusted her, scratches her behind the ear. "Good beast," he murmurs, smiling like he's surprised at himself. The child giggles, copying the gesture, and you think, this is how peace begins, not with grand treaties, but with trust shared around a fire. You watch the smoke rise, curling into the dark. It smells of pine and blood and the faint sweetness of cooked marrow. You think of all the predators that once haunted your dreams, the saber-toothed cats that used to prowl the valley, their fangs long as your hand. They're gone now, or nearly. historians still argue whether humans caused their extinction. Some say it was climate change, some say overhunting. Maybe both. But as you look at Fire Eyes, licking grease from her paws, you wonder if the real change wasn't in the animals, but in you. You become a different kind of predator. One that uses patience instead of panic, thought instead of instinct. Still, not all lessons come easily. A few days later, as you hunt again, you find fresh tracks, big ones. The prints are wide and deep, claw marks gouged into the soil. The hunters glance at each other uneasily. Fire Eyes growls low, hackles raised. Something large is following you. You remember the stories whispered by the fire, about the cave lion, bigger than any wolf or man, its roar enough to freeze the heart. You don't believe all the stories. But you believe the fear in them. You set guards that night. You sleep lightly. Just before dawn, you wake to a sound, a low rumble, almost a purr, echoing from the trees. Fire Eyes is already up, teeth bared, fur bristling. The others stir, grabbing spears. The lion emerges slowly, golden in the pale light. It's magnificent, terrible, and utterly silent as it moves. You can see its breath in the cold air. For a moment, the forest holds its breath. The lion's eyes flicker over the group, judging, calculating. It takes a step forward. Fire Eyes growls again, deep, steady, unafraid. Something shifts. The lion hesitates. It studies the wolf, then the wall of spears behind her. You don't move, but your presence, your unity, speaks louder than noise. Finally, the lion turns. It melts back into the shadows, tail swishing once before vanishing. You exhale, shaking. Someone laughs nervously. Someone else mutters a prayer. The danger passes, but something more important remains. For the first time, you've faced a great predator without bloodshed. Not through flight, not through frantic defense, but through quiet defiance. It's strange to think about how survival has become less about fighting and more about understanding. You scratch Fire Eyes behind the ear. Good girl. You whisper. Her tail thumps softly against the ground. The morning light spills over the horizon, and the forest comes alive again, birds calling, insects buzzing. Life, indifferent and endless, continues. As you walk back toward camp, you can feel a new certainty settling in your bones. You're not just surviving anymore. You're adapting, shaping the world into something you can live within, and somewhere deep inside, a flicker of thought stirs, a thought that will, much later, become civilization. For now, though, it's enough to know that you're not alone in the dark anymore. The world's sharp edges are still there, but they don't cut as deep. Fire Eyes trots beside you, head high. Eyes bright, and you walk on. Two predators made partners by need and choice, leaving a trail of prints side by side in the soft earth, an ancient signature of hope. By now, the world feels familiar, though it's still wild, unpredictable, alive in ways that make your bones hum with awareness. You've learned the rhythms of the seasons, the calls of birds that warn of predators, the smell of rain before it arrives. You've learned to survive, and more than that, you've learned to belong. Your tribe is growing. More children, more fires at night, more laughter echoing through the caves. You notice new faces sometimes, wanderers from distant valleys joining your group, drawn by the smell of cooking meat and the steady safety that seems to surround your camp like an invisible wall. Historians still argue whether early human groups merged through choice or necessity. But standing here, watching two new families unpack bundles of furs and flint, you can tell it's both. Safety attracts the lost like warmth attracts moths. You help them settle, showing them where the best water flows and how to avoid the thorny plants near the cliff. Fire Eyes circles them once, sniffing, then flops down beside the children as if to say, "You're under my watch now." That small act says more than words ever could. Life settles into a new kind of calm. The hunters bring back larger kills, the gatherers find berries farther afield. The nights are still cold, but you no longer shiver with fear when the wind moans outside the cave. You sit closer to the fire, weaving cord, shaping tools, listening to stories, and that's when you notice it. The stories themselves are changing. Once, they were warnings, growls turned into language, lessons wrapped in fear. Don't drink from that stream. Don't wander too far. Don't sleep near the riverbank, where crocodiles lurk. Now, the stories sound different. They're proud, even funny. The time when the old man fell into a mud pit chasing a rabbit. The time Fire Eyes stole half a roast and ran like lightning. Tail wagging, laughter ripples through the cave. You realize, stories aren't just survival tools anymore. They're glue. They hold the tribe together, help the children remember who they are, where they come from, and as the stories grow richer, so does your imagination. One evening, after the hunt, you sit staring at the fire. The flickering light paints shapes on the stone wall, shadows that dance and twist. You pick up a burnt stick and trace one of them. A crude line. Then another. Before long, you've drawn something unmistakable, a deer. Antlers branching like fingers, legs stretched in motion. A hush falls over the group. They gather around, staring. A child reaches out and traces the line with a small, reverent finger. Someone gasps softly, and just like that, art begins. Historians still argue whether cave painting started as ritual or record. Some say they were prayers for the hunt, others say they were the first form of storytelling. You don't know. You only know that it feels right, that for the first time, the world inside your head has a shape outside it. The next night, others join in. The woman with the limp paints handprints in red ochre, her mark beside the deer. A boy scratches lines that look like spears. Someone else paints Fire Eyes, tail curled, teeth bared mid-run. You all laugh, and the cave fills with warmth deeper than the fire's glow. It's strange, how quickly beauty sneaks in once safety allows it. The wolves outside howl that night, long and low, but the sound doesn't frighten you anymore. It just joins the chorus, the wind, the river, the crackling flames. You lean against the stone wall, half asleep, and think about the future. About how one day, someone might find these drawings, these handprints, and wonder who made them. They'll never know your name, but they'll feel your breath in the lines you left behind. The next morning, you wake early and walk outside. The world glows gold. Mist drifts through the trees. Fire Eyes pads beside you, paws silent in the dew. You follow the river downstream to check the snares. The air smells clean, sharp, alive. A fish leaps, breaking the surface for a heartbeat. That's when you spot something in the mud, a footprint that isn't yours. It's smaller, lighter. Not from your tribe. You crouch. Your pulse quickens, not fear exactly, but alertness. You know what this means. Someone else has been here. Another tribe, maybe watching, maybe curious, maybe not friendly. You call softly to Fire Eyes. She sniffs the print, growls faintly, then looks up at you, waiting. You feel a decision forming in your chest. Once, long ago, you'd have fled or hidden. But now, you stand tall. You mark the path with stones, not a warning this time, but a sign. We are here. Later, when you return to camp, you tell the others. The old man frowns, but no one panics. There's discussion, planning. You all know what to do now, how to prepare, how to defend if needed, but deep down, you feel something different. A spark of curiosity. Who are they? What do they eat? Do they tell stories too? Historians still debate when us versus them first began. But looking out over your valley, your fire, your wolf, you think maybe it started not from fear, but from wonder. As dusk falls, you light another fire near the cave entrance, bright, tall, visible from far away. A signal to whoever's watching, we exist. We're strong. But we're not hiding. You sit beside it, Fire Eyes curled against your leg, and stare at the horizon until the stars come out. The wind shifts, carrying strange smells from beyond the hills, smoke, maybe, or spices, or just the faint trace of someone else's world brushing against yours. You smile. because for the first time, you're not just surviving the world, you're becoming part of it. Time flows differently now. Days blend into nights, nights into moons. And the tribe moves with a rhythm that feels older than memory. You notice small things, the way Fire Eyes waits at the riverbank while you collect water, how the children mimic your hunting gestures with sticks, the way laughter rises at the fire like smoke curling into the dark. One morning, you wake to a familiar rustle, but not predators this time. A stranger steps into the clearing, cautious, hands raised to show no weapon. He is young, lean, carrying a bundle of dried meat. His eyes are wary, scanning your tribe. You hold your ground. Fire Eyes growls low in your chest, tail stiff, but you gesture for her to stay. The stranger relaxes a fraction, dropping the meat. He comes closer. You notice his clothing, fur stitched with skill, patterned in a way unfamiliar to you. You exchange names slowly, gestures bridging the gap between language and understanding. Historians still debate how and when human tribes first communicated across language barriers. Was it through gestures, sounds, or shared objects? Watching him now, you realize it's all of them. Simple, deliberate actions, combined with patience, can bridge worlds. Over the next days, the stranger teaches you small things: how to twist cord more tightly, how to track deer using subtle impressions in the soil, how to identify plants by scent alone. In return, you show him how to manage the fire, how to fashion spears for throwing, how to care for Fire Eyes. You start noticing changes within your own group. Skills blend. Knowledge spreads. The old hierarchies loosen as collaboration grows. Everyone has something to offer, every idea becomes a tool for survival. It's exhilarating. Then, one evening, as the fire throws orange light onto the cave walls, someone suggests an idea: a shared hunt. Your tribe and the newcomers' group would combine forces, drive prey together. The children listen with wide eyes, imagining the vast movement of humans and wolves across the plains. The day comes. Early, before the sun fully rises, you set out with Fire Eyes leading the way. The plains stretch endlessly, dew clinging to grass like tiny stars. You see movement ahead, a herd of deer grazing. Oblivious, coordination becomes key. Signals, whistles, and gestures keep everyone in rhythm. You notice how natural it feels, how the shared goal aligns hearts and minds. When one deer bolts, another group guides it toward the hunters waiting beyond the ridge. The hunt succeeds. Meat and marrow are shared equally. But the real triumph is in the collaboration itself, how humans and wolves, newcomers and old friends, learn to operate as one. Historians still argue when humans first began trading, sharing, or forming alliances outside of their immediate tribe. Some claim it emerged from necessity, others argue it was instinctive. Watching the joy, the trust, the celebration around the fire, you suspect it was a little of both. That night, as the fire crackles, your group and the newcomers sit together, sharing stories. You notice something remarkable: even the strangers' tales, about distant rivers, snowy valleys, and different predators, blend naturally with yours. Laughter unites, memory strengthens, curiosity spreads. Fire Eyes lies near your feet, eyes half closed, ears twitching at distant calls. A child sneaks a roasted root to her, giggling. You watch the gesture and smile. Even this small act, this sharing of food and trust, feels monumental. As stars glitter above, you reflect: the human world is expanding. Not just physically, as you roam new plains, but socially, mentally. Each person you encounter, each bond you form, stretches the web of survival wider. And with it comes safety, knowledge, and culture, the things that will endure longer than any single lifespan. And perhaps the strangest, most comforting thought strikes you: cooperation. Care and curiosity are not weaknesses. They are the weapons humans will wield for millennia. Tomorrow, the world will continue to test you: storms, predators, hunger. But tonight, with shared stories, laughter, and the steady warmth of fire eyes at your side, you realize that survival is no longer just about fleeing or fighting, it is about building something bigger than yourself, brick by invisible brick, paw by paw, heart by heart, and for the first time, you sleep without fear. The land shifts again. Hills become ridges, ridges flatten into broad plains. The seasons march on, leaving behind trails of frost, mud, and sun-baked dust. You notice the subtle changes in the tribe, children taller, faces sharper, the scars and marks of survival fading into memory. Fire Eyes has grown thick and strong. She moves with a precision that borders on grace, anticipating danger before it happens, nudging the children from harm's way, guiding hunters silently. You watch her one morning as she curls around a sleeping child, guarding with a fierce yet tender patience. Hunting has evolved into ritual. Groups spread out, then converge, signals passing silently through gestures and glances. The wolves and humans act as one organism, bound by trust, necessity, and experience. Each kill feeds more than stomachs, it teaches patience, timing, and collaboration. Historians still argue about when humans first domesticated animals formally versus informally. Your experience suggests that the line is blurry. Sometimes survival itself teaches loyalty and obedience, long before anyone realizes they've created a bond that will last for generations. One morning, you notice a pattern in the stars. Certain constellations appear when the rains are due, when the herds migrate, or when berries ripen. You point them out to the children, tracing shapes in the sky with your finger. They giggle, some stretching their arms as if to touch the heavens, the first sparks of astronomy. Purely practical at first, are born here, a way to track time, resources, and survival. Later, stories grow around the stars. The great hunters become mythic figures, animals transform into spirits, and the night sky becomes a map of memory and morality. As you teach the children, the idea of story as tool crystallizes. It's not just about remembering hunts or dangers. It's about teaching empathy, bravery, caution, and curiosity. You notice how a tale of one child saving another from a riverbank during last month's flood inspires bravery in all of them. The tribe learns to plan beyond the immediate horizon. You store food, construct more stable shelters, and designate lookout points. Even the wolves participate, alerting you to predators or guiding you to new grazing grounds. Survival now incorporates foresight, strategy, and shared intelligence. Then comes the encounter that changes everything. While scouting a narrow valley, you find a collection of rocks arranged deliberately. Stones stacked, painted, and positioned with care. Someone else has been here, not a predator, not an animal, but humans. Another tribe. You freeze, heart pounding, scanning the trees. Then Fire Eyes growls, low and steady. Not aggression, curiosity. She steps forward. Nose twitching, the decision is clear. Approach cautiously, observe, and learn. You gesture to the newcomers. They return a wary nod. Hands rise and fall in greetings that need no words. You watch as they place small tokens of food near the edge of their settlement. A gesture of peace. Historians still debate when humans first understood diplomacy beyond immediate survival. Perhaps this is the moment, simple exchanges, gestures, and shared risk. You feel it intuitively, relationships are as important as tools, as vital as fire. That night, your tribe gathers around the fire, sharing the tale with the children, embellishing carefully, warning of caution but celebrating curiosity. Fire Eyes lies nearby, ears twitching at every movement. You realize that humanity has moved a step beyond mere survival. You're not just hunting, not just hiding. You're negotiating space, relationships, knowledge. You're planting seeds, literally, with gathered plants, and metaphorically, in minds and hearts. The fire crackles, sparks spiraling into the night sky. You lean back, eyes tracing the constellations you taught the children. You feel an odd sense of pride. Perhaps survival was never enough. Perhaps survival was never enough. Perhaps it's the choices you make, the bonds you forge, the stories you pass along, that define humanity, and you sense, deep in your chest, that every step, every gesture of care, every story whispered in the dark, every wolf guided and every hand held, is shaping something eternal, because the humans who survive are not only those who fight, they are those who remember, teach, and connect. Tonight, the fire burns as it always has, but you know its light stretches far beyond the cave. It touches hearts, minds, and futures yet unborn. The seasons continue their endless cycle. You notice subtle changes in the land, the rivers carve new paths, the grasslands shift, and distant mountains are outlined differently by sunlight. The tribe has grown, its bonds deepened by countless hunts, shared stories, and nights spent under a starlit sky. You see the future in fragments, children learning, fires burning, wolves padding silently alongside humans. Life has become a dance of observation, patience, and subtle coordination. You notice the way Fire Eyes watches the wind, tracking scents invisible to your nose. You notice the careful attention of the children as they replicate your motions, learning through imitation, laughter, and gentle correction. The entire tribe has become a system, an intricate balance of humans, animals, and the rhythms of the natural world. Historians still argue when symbolic thinking truly emerged, whether it was in tools, art, or ritual. Here, though, you can see it firsthand, stories shaping behavior, handprints marking identity, stars guiding movement, and even conflicts settled through negotiation rather than pure force. Symbolism is survival. Storytelling is strategy. Ritual is wisdom encoded in memory. One evening, after a long day of hunting, you and Fire Eyes sit on a ridge overlooking your valley. Smoke rises from distant fires, other tribes, other humans. You realize that connection and territory are not mutually exclusive. Interaction with outsiders could mean danger, but also opportunity, knowledge, alliances, and exchange. The stars begin to emerge, sharp and bright. You trace constellations with your finger, remembering the patterns you taught the children. Stories rise in your mind, the old woman, the burial, the wolf that became your ally, the hunts, the cave art. Every memory, every small act of care, every shared laugh, forms a lattice of understanding that will outlast your life. Fire Eyes nudges your hand, bringing you back to the present. You smile, feeling a surge of gratitude for her, for the tribe, for this delicate, chaotic world that you helped shape. The wind carries distant howls, bird calls, and rustling leaves, a lullaby as old as the earth. You think about the future, how these small steps, art, cooperation, storytelling, observation, will ripple forward. Children will become parents, hunters will become teachers, handprints will become symbols, stories will become myth. Every choice you make, every bond you forge, resonates beyond the immediate moment. The fire crackles lower, its warmth soothing, and you realize that the human story is not just survival, it is creation, memory, and connection. It is finding ways to care for each other, to teach, to mark, to remember, and to wonder. It is the constant effort to turn fear into trust, danger into understanding, and presence into meaning. You close your eyes, feeling the pulse of life around you, the breathing of Fire Eyes, the steady warmth of the fire, the gentle night wind brushing your face. And in this calm, expansive moment, you understand that all the lessons of the past, the burials, the art, the hunts, the alliances, lead here, to recognition, to community, to the human heart finding its place in a vast, untamed world. The fire burns low now, embers glowing softly, casting a gentle orange hue across the cave walls. Outside, the night is still, punctuated only by distant calls of nocturnal creatures and the whisper of wind through the trees. You stretch along the cool stone, feeling the weight of the day ease from your limbs, and you let your thoughts drift. You remember the first handprint on the wall, your fingers pressed into pigment, marking yourself in a world that seemed vast and unknowable. You remember the wolf that chose to walk beside you, not as a threat but as a companion, sharing warmth and watchfulness in the darkness. You remember the hunts, the laughter of children, the cautious greetings of strangers. And the stories that wrapped the tribe together like threads in a tapestry, all of it blends into a quiet, slow rhythm. You feel the pulse of life not just in your own heartbeat, but in the breathing of fire eyes beside you, in the distant rustle of the forest, in the gentle hum of the wind. The past and present coexist here, a continuum of survival, care, curiosity, and creativity. It is a reminder that humans have always found ways to connect, to teach, to create meaning, even in the harshest circumstances. The art on the walls, the stories whispered by fires, the careful watches and guiding hands, all of it speaks to a deeper truth, that memory, empathy, and cooperation are as essential to survival as food, water, and shelter. As your eyes grow heavy, you take a deep, slow breath. The warmth of the cave, the softness of the night, and the gentle rhythm of life around you ease you into calm. Every sound, every flicker of light, every remembered story lulls you closer to rest, and as sleep takes over, the past, present, and future fold together, leaving you with a quiet, expansive sense of connection and peace.